His final words. On April 1st, 1984, a retired minister, Marvin Gaye Sr., shot his son, Marvin Gaye, twice with a .38 caliber pistol.
In the world of celebrities, there are big names, music and film legends, who've had to face obsessions from the very people who gave birth to them. No one could have guessed that on their journey to conquer the top, those idols didn't just have to deal with challenges from the outside world, but also had to wrestle with deep emotional wounds caused by their parents and family. The people who should have been their support turned out to be the source of all the pain, trauma that haunted these stars till the end of their lives. And the 15 stories I'm about to tell will expose the truth about the worst parents of black stars, the ones who beat, controlled, forced their kids to fame, even abused them without a shred of mercy. 15. Diana Ross, brutally abused by her own father in front of the whole family. Diana Ross, one of the greatest icons in world music, is an essential name in music history with her resounding achievements. From a very young age, she stepped into the spotlight, famous as a member of the Supremes group, then became a legendary solo star with iconic songs and massive influence. However, before reaching that peak of glory, she had to go through a miserable childhood, tormented with wounds that couldn't heal. When Diana Ross was 6, her family lived in a cramped apartment in Detroit's Brewster Projects, where 8 people squeezed into 3 dark rooms. Her father, Fred Ross Sr., a World War II veteran, couldn't find steady work and sank into alcohol. Every night he'd come home in an endless drunken stupor, and brutal beatings were a daily thing. Once, her dad smashed a beer bottle on the table, eyes bloodshot, then lunged at her mom, dragging her across the floor in front of the 6 kids. His hands gripped her mom's hair tight, pulling her like a lifeless doll. Diana, unable to stay silent seeing her mom abused, stood up to protect her. But in return, she herself took the savage beating from her father. Many nights, she'd lie still under the blanket, biting her teeth and trembling, not daring to make a sound, even a breath, because her parents were arguing, yelling, and the thumping sounds of beatings echoed again in the cold house. In winter, once he chased the whole family out of the house just for a simple reason. My house. I do what I want. Diana's mom had to sneak the kids through the back door, hiding at the neighbors, where they could crash for the night, avoiding the skin-cutting cold and the madness of the drunken husband, father. After many times like that, Diana learned a weird way to defend herself. She always kept a pair of shoes under her pillow, ready to run if needed. That was the only way she could find a bit of peace in that endless, chaotic home. The physical and emotional traumas weren't easy to fade. Diana had to live with heart wounds that couldn't heal even after she escaped that family hell. As an adult, she tended to pick weak boyfriends she could easily control, like a way to hide from the psychological shadow of her cruel father. But those obsessions also pushed her to the determination to change her fate, turning music into an escape. Those late nights sitting outside the house, Diana dreamed of a different future, a free life where there were no screams and endless beatings. And she did it. She overcame everything to become one of the greatest female singers of all time. 14. Ike Turner. The obsession with family violence became a blade slashing across Tina Turner's life. Ike Turner was a legend in the R&B music world. As the founder of the Ike and Tina Turner Review Group, Ike helped change music history with smash hits. However, he's remembered not just for his musical talent, but also for the dark twists in his life. When Ike Turner was just 6 in 1937, his young memory was etched with a horrifying scene. His birth father, a dignified pastor, was tied to a tree and beaten with baseball bats by a group of white men right on the front porch just because he dared to preach words that were too free. That terrifying scene haunted Ike till the end of his life. His dad survived, but he was paralyzed on one side, leaving a deep wound in the family. This was also the start of a chain of tragedies in Ike's life. Ike's mom, just 8 months later, remarried a truck driver alcoholic named Willie Kizart. Right from the first nights of the new life with his stepfather, Ike faced another obsession. Every weekend night, when Willie Kizart was drunk, the boy would be dragged to the pig pen. Then the stepfather made him kneel on dry corn kernels, whipping him with electrical cords, sometimes just for no reason. "You looking at me like you want to kill me?" Those brutal beatings turned Ike into a timid kid, always living in fear. Once, the stepfather beat Ike till he passed out. When he woke up, he found himself tied to a pen post, lying in pig manure all night, no one coming to help. Even though Ike's mom once tried to intervene, she couldn't stop the stepfather's madness. Once, when standing up to protect her son, she herself got beaten till her arm broke. The feeling of helplessness, despair rose every day, making Ike even more convinced that in this house, no one could stand up for him. The oppression built up. When Ike was 11, his mom decided to run away, but she didn't take Ike. The boy had to stay alone with that abuser and continue growing up in endless violence. The consequences of those years living in violence haunted Ike his whole life. He grew up with built-up anger and uncontrollable impulsiveness. Now Ike was no longer an innocent kid, but a man drowned in hatred and trauma. Later, he repeated similar violent behaviors toward his own wife, Tina Turner. He beat her just like how he was beaten, trapping himself in an inescapable cycle of violence where the hurt one wants to hurt others. The childhood tragedy destroyed both Ike's career and life, ultimately creating indelible black marks in the minds of those who once loved him. 13. Richard Pryor. Grew up in a brothel, beaten, abused, while the whole family treated it like normal. Mentioning Richard Pryor is mentioning a comedy legend, a talented artist who changed the entire entertainment industry. He was the first black person to bring a strong comedy style, not afraid to touch on society's thorny issues. But behind those bright smiles was a chain of tragedies from his own painful childhood. Richard Pryor didn't grow up in family love and protection. His childhood was tied to the brothel run by his grandmother, Marie Carter. There, Richard went through dark things no kid should endure. From 1944 to 1952, the three-story house with 14 rooms for prostitutes was his home, where his mom, Gertrude, worked. Gertrude was never a good mom. She made Richard stand outside the door, guarding for her Johns. She was always drunk, sometimes using her high heels to beat him if he cried or accidentally made noise interrupting her work. The days Richard lived there were like hell on earth. In 1947, when Richard was just 7, he became the victim of a horny teenager in the brothel area. But that wasn't the most horrifying thing. Many nights, Richard had to face the local church's respected priest, who should have been a support, should have brought protection to kids, but was the one aiding the pain Richard endured for 2 years. The most painful thing was his grandmother knew all about it, but she just smirked, treating it as normal and even spitting out harsh words insulting him. Just like that, a kid was robbed of his childhood, cruelly abandoned by loved ones. His dad, Leroy "Buck" Pryor, wasn't any better. A boxer and pimp, Buck regularly beat both mom and son Richard just because they needed teaching. That dark life crushed all faith in humanity in Richard, making the boy carry torment from young. And those physical and emotional wounds tormented him for decades after. In adulthood, Richard got sucked into the addiction vortex. Cocaine became his companion, just to temporarily fill the lasting pain in his heart. By 1980, in a moment of rock-bottom mood, Richard set himself on fire as a form of self-punishment. It was a crazy act, but also the threshold of rebirth, helping him overcome the psychological issues always tearing at his heart. Rising from a hurt kid to a great artist, Richard Pryor's resilience was truly extraordinary. 12. Marvin Gaye. The blood-soaked path and brutal death at the hands of the one who gave him life. Marvin Gaye was one of America's greatest music legends, with timeless hits like What's Going On or Sexual Healing. His music touched millions' hearts, but few know that behind those beautiful lyrics was a past soaked in tears and harsh words. From 1942 to 1957, Marvin lived in his family's small wooden house of Pastor Marvin Gaye Sr. His dad was rigid and a blind follower of the House of God sect. From just 3 years old, Marvin was forced to stand, singing hymns for hours on the pulpit. Every off note got him dragged to the basement and given cruel whippings. The times he got beaten were like daily meals, once just for wearing white socks instead of black, or laughing during prayer, or simply because Dad felt he wasn't humble enough. The lashes not only tore skin but shredded the boy's soul. Marvin's mom, though trying to shield her son, couldn't escape her husband's brutality. She once got beaten till hospitalized, but still she stayed with that man, hoping for a miracle to change everything. In the end, Marvin, the innocent, miserable kid, bore the heaviest consequences from his mom's weakness and blindness. His childhood was a long chain of days without laughter, without love, just beatings, scoldings, and surrounding loneliness. Music became salvation, but couldn't save Marvin's life. His whole life living in past pain and emotional lack, he turned to sex and drugs to fill the void in his heart. But those addictions destroyed everything. On April 1, 1984, when Marvin was grown and through many storms, he continued witnessing Dad beat Mom and couldn't stand idle. He intervened with his dad, but got back furious rage. In wrath, Marvin Gaye Sr. pulled a gun and shot his son. 2 shots, and Marvin fell to the ground. Marvin Gaye, his whole life seeking family love he never got, died in the arms of the very father he craved affection from. 11. Sammy Davis Jr. From money machine to legend, Sammy Davis Jr. was one of the most famous music and entertainment legends of the 20th century. A multi-talented artist with dancing, singing, acting skills, and an icon of the American entertainment industry. But behind that stage, glamour was a robbed childhood, a controlled life, and lasting pain haunting his whole life. From just 2 years and 9 months old, Sammy Davis Jr. got sucked into the vaudeville world, where his birth dad, Sammy Davis Sr., and Uncle Will Maston turned him into a money machine. Silent Sam, the dancing midget, the name the 2-year-old boy carried on stage, reflected the cruelty in how Dad and Uncle treated him. No childhood, no friends, no school. All day, just 14 to 16-hour practice sessions, forced to be perfect. Miss one dance step and get beaten with belts by Dad and Uncle. Once, Sammy fainted on stage from being beaten hours before, but when he woke, he still had to continue performing. No rest, no care, no one concerned. All the earnings, thousands of dollars a week in the 1930s, went into Dad and Uncle's pockets. He only got a few cents for candy, not enough to buy childhood happiness. Growing up, Sammy continued living under Dad and Uncle's shadow, believing he was just a money tool. Not until 1954, at 29, did Sammy have the courage to demand his share of earnings from stage work. But in return, he got a stinging slap from his dad, in front of the whole troupe. That slap put an end to a heart always craving love and recognition. Later, he started gambling and alcohol addiction, finding ways to escape the deep wounds in his soul. Sammy Davis Jr. lived with a scary syndrome, always trying to please others to an extreme. Every time on stage, he didn't just perform for passion, but also to get the recognition, love he never had from his dad. Despite resounding success, despite being a legend, Sammy Davis Jr., his whole life couldn't escape his dad's shadow. He always sought recognition from the dad who never saw him as a son, but just a money machine. 10. James Brown. The price paid to become the Godfather of Soul. James Brown, Godfather of Soul, is one of the greatest music legends of all time. With classic hits like I Got You, I Feel Good, and Papa's Got a Brand New Bag, he changed the whole music industry, paving the way for soul and funk. However, few know that before becoming a pioneer, he went through a dark childhood. From 1937 to 1946, James Brown's family lived in a shabby shack in Barnwell, South Carolina. No electricity, no running water, just long days of hard work. His dad, Joe Gardner Brown, was a cotton picker and moonshine bootlegger. From just 5 years old, James had to wake at 4 a.m. to pick cotton, working nonstop till dark. He had to carry at least 50 pounds of cotton a day. If not enough, he'd get a brutal beating from his dad. Once, James got beaten till broken ribs just for picking slow, but no one dared protect him. Worse, Joe made the boy dance in front of American soldiers at bars, taking tips to buy booze and women right in front of his son. James's mom left home in 1941. She couldn't take the violence in that house, but James still had to live in it. To vent anger, his dad sold the boy's only shoes to buy more booze and another near-death beating. At 9, James ran away too, wandering to a brothel in Augusta, where he worked as a servant, mopping floors and leading clients for a place to sleep. Those experiences couldn't fade from James's memory. His childhood was a chain of days without joy, without love, just violence and abandonment. The wounds not only scarred his body, but etched into his soul, making James grow up with simmering anger, constant fear, and lack of trust in the world. Because of that, his whole life, James never found peace in love and work. Especially in marriage, he became a sick controller, using the same spiked belt his dad used to torment his wife. Despite reaching career peaks, James Brown couldn't escape the past's shadow. The pain from his violent dad and abandoning mom turned him into someone unable to love and trust anyone. 9. Little Richard, whole life running from the shadow of a cruel father. Little Richard, rock and roll icon who set stages on fire with his high-pitched voice and wild performance style. He laid the foundation for modern rock, inspiring both Elvis Presley and the Beatles. The stage lights around him always shone bright, but his childhood was suffocatingly dark. From 1938 to 1947, in a rotting wooden house in Macon, Georgia, Richard grew up amid moonshine smells and prayers mixed with curses. Family had 12 kids, no need to say how crowded and deprived they were. His dad, Charles Penniman, was both pastor and bootlegger behind the church, and the man preaching about love didn't know how to love his son. Richard liked wearing mom's dresses, putting on lipstick, walking light as wind, and just that was enough to be seen as sinful. Dad often grabbed Richard's hair, dragged him to the backyard, beating with baseball bats for dressing like a girl. But Richard didn't give up. He still loved music, still sneaked mom's clothes, and sang his way. Of course, when Dad found out, the beating got heavier, longer, more persistent. At 12, Richard was tied to the porch post in cold rain, thin shirt, barefoot, body shaking. All night, left outside for daring to sing devil music. Next morning, he survived, but what died was faith that family could accept his true self. From then, he grew with a defiant attitude, pretending tough and turning himself crazier than all. At 15, after a secret performance discovered at a gay bar, where Richard found belonging, he got kicked out by Dad. He just threw him a torn suitcase with $5. Richard stepped into life with pain and resentment, and rock and roll was where he channeled anger to survive. The consequences of those childhood years followed him till the end. Richard famous worldwide, but couldn't escape the obsession of being rejected by his birth dad. Switching to preacher for salvation but failing, he dove into hedonistic life, trying to soothe pains with heroin and cocaine. On stage, he burned bright like fire. Off, he self-immolated with addictions. That inner torment clung to little Richard till his last breath. 8. Michael Jackson. Terrifying obsession and wounds that couldn't heal Michael Jackson, king of pop, name echoing farther than anyone in the music world. With innate singing, dancing, composing talent, he created historic hits, performances leaving people stunned. From 1963 to 1975, Michael lived in a rundown house in Gary, Indiana, with 8 siblings. The house had only 2 bedrooms, cramped, stifling. But the scariest wasn't living space, but the brutal training process his dad, Joe Jackson, started when Michael was just 4. Every day, Joe made Michael and siblings practice 6-8 hours. Just sing one wrong note or dance one wrong step, Michael got direct face hits. The scene of Michael beaten till peeing his pants but still dancing in wet clothes, eyes teary but not daring to cry, was too familiar throughout his childhood. Joe not only beat, but used hot oil on his son's face, then poked burning fingers into skin to teach not to fear fire. That negative teaching made Michael grow up with panicked psychology. Those long nights, Michael couldn't sleep, curled up with a tear-wiping cloth under pillow. Nightmares of the cruel dad never let the boy go. Not just Michael, but other siblings endured similar whippings. The whole family like living in prison, no love, just harsh control. Not only that, even though the Jackson family famous and earned millions from Jackson 5, the kids only got a few dollars allowance. All money went to Joe's pocket. In reality, money couldn't change the dark, painful life the kids endured. Those psychological wounds turned Michael into a reclusive person with self-face hatred, constant plastic surgery to change appearance, and heavy painkiller addiction. Finally, he died in 2009 alone from a sleeping pill dose. Long ago, he couldn't sleep without pills. A peaceful sleep his childhood never had. 7. Mike Tyson. Boxing legend carrying painful past from his mother. Mike Tyson, Iron Mike, is an indelible name in boxing history. With powerful punches and brutal fighting style, he became a legend, first to win world heavyweight title at just 20. But few know what created that iron fist was a cruel past. From 1970 to 1978, Mike's life in a cramped Brooklyn apartment was an endless nightmare. His mom, Lorna Smith Tyson, was a heavy heroin addict and prostitute. The house always had 7 to 8 strange men staying overnight. But the scariest wasn't those guests, but the near-death beatings from his own mom every time she craved drugs or wanted to vent. One of Mike's most terrifying memories was at just 5, his mom grabbing his hair, dragging him across the floor just for looking at mom's client with a rude eye. Beaten, treated like a punching bag, his wounds grew more. At just 8, Mike got a broken collarbone. Mom beat him mercilessly, and after each beating, he didn't dare cry, fearing more hits. He grew. Things got worse. Some nights, when high made Mike's mom lose sense, she made him stand in the living room for guests to check goods, even letting guests grope and mock the boy. At 10, Mike got kicked out by mom in winter just for eating fridge food. The boy had to survive wandering in abandoned buildings, stealing to get by. No one cared, no one protected, just loneliness and strange shadows always close. A few men entered his life then with disgusting acts. Those men were part of why Mike sought rebellion, becoming a boxer. Each punch, each later fight, wasn't just battling opponents, but battling his own past pains. Despite becoming a famous boxer with an empire, Mike Tyson couldn't escape the emotional wounds his mom left. In weak moments, he once sobbed on TV, talking about how his mom treated him cruelly. Then, people realized the strong ring punches were just his reaction to heart hurts. Tyson's whole life in anger, consequence of unhealable childhood wounds. 6. Tyler Perry. Journey rising from a dark childhood. Tyler Perry, who built a massive film empire, is a symbol of strength overcoming adversity. His films, plays not only attract millions, but are works containing a survivor's heartfelt voice. One of the deepest marks in Perry's career is Medea, the model of a strong, resilient mom he never had. Tyler Perry didn't have a peaceful childhood. From 1974 to 1985, when he was just a kid, he lived under his birth dad's rule, Emmett Perry Sr., a brutal builder and heavy alcoholic. At just 5, for talking too much, the boy got stripped and locked in a pitch-black closet for hours. But that was just a small part of the punishments he endured. Many times, that cruel dad whipped Tyler's back with belts. To make him remember the lesson, he'd rub salt in. His dad didn't just beat, but abused Tyler. On days when Tyler's mom, the weak and submissive woman, worked night shifts, his dad came to his room doing unimaginable things. His mom knew everything, but fearing death beating, she chose silence, watching her son endure pain. No one could save Tyler, and he didn't know what to do. Till Tyler was 16, the turning point happened. After Dad beat him till hospitalized, Tyler couldn't take any more. He decided to change everything, running from that hell house and changing his last name to cut all ties to the violent dad. From then, Tyler Perry was no longer the pitiful kid living in pain's shadow, but the man determined to decisively cut with painful past. From those long, dark nights, Tyler Perry built a film empire where he could change his life and inspire millions. Medea, the iconic character in his plays, is the mom model he always wished for, a mom strong, never falling. It seems each play, each film of Perry, was written with blood and tears, from bitter childhood memories. 5. Mary J. Blige. Childhood pain and battle against those supposed to protect her. Mary J. Blige, R&B queen, not only famous for resounding hit tracks, but a symbol of strength rising from pain. She stands firm at music's peak, but to climb that peak, she overcame a tear-soaked childhood. Few know her songs are cries of anguish from those years. From 1976 to 1985, Mary lived in Schlobom Gardens Projects, a bullet-riddled housing area where everything around reflected violence and poverty. Her mom, Cora, worked night nurse shifts, and she always faced long nights in dread when Mom's boyfriend, Johnny, a man about 30, appeared in that house. Just 5, Mary went through worse nightmares than a kid's imagination. That man wasn't just violent, but tainted a child's innocence. Every night when Mary's mom slept deeply after a tiring shift, Johnny sneaked into the girl's room, covering her mouth with alcohol-stinking hand. Ghastly threats followed. "Tell, and I'll kill your whole family." Once, at 7, Mary tried screaming for help, but Johnny stopped it in time. "The kid's just sleep-talking," Johnny said. Her mom woke, but instead of protecting, believed the man. She went back to bed, leaving Mary to endure in silence. She seemed not fully understanding this world's terror or ignored truth for love with that man. From then, Mary didn't dare tell anyone, didn't dare trust anyone. The girl once hid under bed hearing Johnny's footsteps, but couldn't hide forever. Nights where the man's heavy breathing overpowered everything around, making the girl feel unsafe even in her own home. Till Johnny left with another woman, Mary escaped that demon. But she grew with a body she herself hated, with unhealable soul wounds. She many times self-harmed with razor blades, hurting herself to cope with terrifying childhood memories. At 15, she started alcohol and drug addiction, like a way to numb herself. More painful, her adult relationships repeated a violent cycle, making her change boyfriends constantly seeking real love. All that bitterness and suffering from past, Mary poured into music, into songs about betrayal, about being robbed of protection right by family. She used music as weapon to fight her own obsession, and that way became symbol of resilience, of rebirth through each emotional R&B melody. 4. Whitney Houston. Abused by own family for years, Mom saw but turned a blind eye. Whitney Houston, one of the greatest legendary voices of all time, built a peak music career and left indelible mark in fans' hearts. Immortal love songs like "I Will Always Love You," captivating millions' hearts, prove her innate talent. But behind that sweet, echoing voice was a childhood screaming in tears few knew. Whitney Houston's childhood started in a big house, but not a warm family. The 1970s to 1975, she lived in a crowded family, including cousin Dee Dee Warwick, a famous singer. But Dee Dee wasn't like normal cousins. The first time she pulled Whitney into a private room, locked the door, and did shady things was when the girl was just 7. This didn't happen once, but lasted 3 years. Worse was Whitney's family knew everything. Her mom, Sissy Houston, also noticed her daughter's change. Little Whitney, always crying and avoiding Dee Dee, but instead of speaking up to protect, her mom just patted head comforting and said casually, "Don't think nonsense." Other aunts and family also saw the discomfort and pain in Whitney's eyes, but they stayed silent. Dee Dee, even touching her own niece, was still seen as family star, and no one dared shame her. Every weekend, Whitney had to sit eating dinner with Dee Dee like nothing happened. Those dinners were tear-soaked meals. The feeling of being violated, abandoned, and unprotected by birth, Mom haunted Whitney her whole life. Growing up, she still couldn't escape dark memories of hands touching her tender body. Whitney, in shares with close friends, sobbed, saying she never felt truly safe in the very home she grew up in. After years of hurt, she sank deep into addiction as a way to forget humiliating feeling. And sadly, she chose a bad man as husband, making pain pile on pain. The man she hoped could shelter her also disappointed her. Years living in helplessness and obsession finally pushed Whitney Houston to death in 2012. 3. DMX. Mom broke his arm, then abandoned him. At 13, left home, living on streets. DMX, real name Earl Simmons, was one of the biggest rappers of the 90s, with unique style and growling voice. However, behind each strong rap was actually a person who'd endured much trauma. DMX grew up in a violent and abandoned family. His mom, Arnett Simmons, was just 19 when birthing DMX. Her life always had strange men, brutal boyfriends, one-night stands, and never a peaceful space for the kid. From just 3, DMX endured near-death beatings just for his cries. His mom and then boyfriend beat him with mop handles, though he didn't know what he'd done wrong. This mom's cruelty didn't stop there. Some weeks, DMX got locked in a pitch-black room, just a small bucket for bathroom. She did that because "this brat tires me," and for peace, she abandoned her son in that dark from Monday to Friday. More painful, at 6, DMX got beaten by Mom till right arm broken. But instead of hospital, she just wrapped the wound with old torn cloths, then left her son home crying till passing out. Since birth, Mom didn't even love the boy. The men coming home didn't treat him kindly either. Another mom's boyfriend once slammed his head into concrete wall just for spilling a glass of water. Gradually, the boy couldn't take any more. At 13, DMX left home, choosing street wandering over that gloomy house. In cold winter nights, he struggled to survive in dark alleys. More horrifying, once he nearly got run over by truck, sleeping in park. Wandering life turned him into a thug. Growing, DMX sank into violence world, addiction, and wrong decisions. He went to prison 30 times, battled crack addiction, but after all, he found escape through music. DMX's growling rap, filled with anger and unrelenting, was expression of pent-up pain, of childhood violence obsessions. Though he escaped the brutal family, those memories, those traumas, still haunted him his whole life. 2. Dave Chappelle, comedy and obsession about cruel stepfather. Dave Chappelle, one of the greatest comedians, stands out with sharp satirical style and storytelling, making listeners laugh and ponder. But few understand, behind his funny stories is an obsessive childhood, where family pain and cruelty forged a strong Dave Chappelle. After parents divorced in 1980, Dave's life entered tragedy when Mom remarried a strict man, William, a former military with iron discipline. From 7, Dave endured unimaginable punishments. One common was kneeling on raw rice grains, not allowed to move for hours, just for messing homework or bad grades. But that wasn't scariest. Surely any kid would forever remember hands blistered from bamboo whips on palms. Those are images Dave always etched in memory. When he was 12, things got worse. Once at dinner, Dave laughed loud by mistake and immediately got collared by stepdad, dragged to backyard. Just for trivial reason, Leather Belt whipped hard on him, but his mom just watched, choking tears but not daring anything, fearing if resisting, she'd get beaten too or forced to leave family. Dave couldn't take, had to run to friends and sleep there 3 nights. Then at 16, when everything beyond endurance, Dave threatened to leave home, but things showed no change. Dave realized time to leave this hell and rise up. After, he found a way to transform pain into art. Dave wanted to use comedy as a tool to satirize society's wrongs and escape past chains. Because of that belief, he bluntly refused a $50 million deal with Comedy Central, not wanting control by anyone else. He didn't just want financial freedom, but freedom in self-expression, not dominated by anyone. What Dave feared most in life was becoming a dad like his stepdad, so he always kept gentle and refined behavior, whether on stage or in family. 1. Tina Turner. The legendary woman and years hated from the womb, Tina Turner, a music icon, gave the world resounding hits and brilliant career. But Tina's life wasn't smooth from young. She started her journey in hatred and violence's shadow. Tina faced hatred right from her mom's womb. Her mom, Zelma, bitterly hated birthing her just because she was out of wedlock child. From just 5, Tina started feeling her mom's cruelty. She often slapped her face, pulled ears till torn just for, "You look too much like your dad." Each mom, angry, vicious words like, "I didn't want to birth you, I just wanted abortion," rang out, and Tina, just silent, endured. Once, Tina's mom threw high heels at her head, then made her clean the blood-stained floor like nothing happened. Each time her dad visited, Mom got even fiercer, like venting all love-hate between them on the kid. Till 11, Tina's mom left, leaving her alone doing heavy work for white family. Tina had to wake at 3 a.m., milking cows, then run to school, home continue working, cooking for whole family. It was a life without joy, even without human rights. And then, when Tina grown, she thought found a man to replace past dad's protection. But everything not as hoped. Ike Turner's love pushed her into another violence vortex, beaten and controlled for 17 years. Tina used to violence from mom, so endured that miserable situation. That time she lived feeling unworthy of love, just tolerating. But even worm writhes when stepped on. Tina stood up, broke free from bad husband's dark life, built legendary career, becoming one of world's greatest artists. Only thing, even reaching peak, past wounds couldn't fully heal. Tina Turner, though overcame everything, couldn't forget her mom's obsessive words. "I didn't want to birth you." That was painful memory she carried whole life, a scar never fading she shared in many later talks. The dark secrets just revealed show us the resilience of 15 black stars we once admired. Despite pain and torment from their own families, they rose and shone bright. They are proof that mental strength can overcome all difficulties, sorrows. If you feel moved and heartbroken following their childhood tragedies, leave a comment sharing your thoughts below this video. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to continue with us uncovering other dark corners of the entertainment industry.